Hey everyone, welcome back to the Movie Studio, and today I'm here to talk about the When Calls the Heart Season 13 premiere. It is called Up in the Air. So, a new season is upon us. It is crazy that this show is on its 13th season, but I'm also not really surprised. It has been through a lot of changes, some very drastic changes. Losing two of its main characters in the span of less than a season is crazy. But they've managed to bounce back, and we've suffered through, the death of Jack, the loss of Abigail, a love triangle for 3 seasons. It's been a wild journey. Elizabeth switching her mind again. But here we are at season 13, and I gotta say, I think this show right now is the best it's ever been. Maybe not including like the earlier seasons, because the earlier seasons were really strong in different ways. But to me, this episode very much felt like an ensemble show. Everyone kind of got their fair share of screen time. Some characters more than others. Obviously, Elizabeth and Nathan and Allie and little Jack, they kind of are the main plot. They carry the show. But other characters like Lucas and Edie, Rosemary and Lee, other characters kind of like filling in that ensemble, and then you have like the characters who have even less of a role, but you kind of have everyone doing something this episode. So I really appreciated that. You kind of just felt everyone's presence, whether it was Florence and Molly kind of gossiping and like egging Edie on about Lucas, or Mike and May didn't have a whole lot going on, but there was a sweet moment where they were singing together at the end of the episode. You just really felt the community. And I really hope that continues, because this show, I feel like the community, when they're all together, is really where the show peaks. And sometimes I feel that, and sometimes I don't. Season 12 was an example where I just felt like they focused a bit too much on the mystery and Rosemary as a reporter, and not enough on the community. But I think this season, to me, Rosemary didn't even have much screen time in the premiere, which makes me feel like they're kind of really going the ensemble route, which, as much as I love Rosemary, I think she kind of took away a lot of screen time from characters last season. I didn't think Nathan and Elizabeth took up that much time, but Rosemary for sure definitely had more screen time than usual. And so far, from this episode alone, I think her role is going to be better managed, and I'm more looking forward to her storyline with the Playhouse rather than her as a journalist. I like that, but I think it's going to be cool to see her get back to her theater roots. So the episode actually starts off with a funny scene, because you kind of see Lee stressed out about the opening of the national park, and Rosemary's the calm one. It's a nice role reversal, because usually it's the opposite, but it makes sense, because I did appreciate this episode that we got to see Lee be mayor, because I've always wanted to see Lee as mayor ever since that mayoral race, and then he lost to Mike, and then Mike dropped out, which that's one of the stupidest storylines to me. I'm still not quite over it, but at least now Lee is mayor, so I'm happy about that. No, but sorry, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but the fact that you had Fiona, Mike, Bill, and Lee as the 4 candidates, and then Fiona just dropped out in between seasons with no explanation. The one woman candidate dropped out, and it's not like this show hasn't had a woman mayor. Abigail was the mayor, so that doesn't even make any sense. And the Fiona would have been such a good mayor, and there was a lot of potential there rather than her getting involved in the oil business. But then they had Mike become mayor, and then he struggled the entire season with his role, and then he just dropped out at the end. It was just such a stupid plot. And then Bill became acting mayor and did nothing. And then Lee became mayor, but then he didn't do anything. Now we're finally seeing an actual mayor do mayor things, so I'm hopeful that this season we'll really get to see Lee in that mayoral role. But enough rambling about that. So I like that we actually got to see the family and Kate Fullerton a little bit, and I don't know if we'll go back there. Probably not. They probably didn't have the budget to film wherever they film. They probably could only do like one scene there, basically, was all they did. And then, of course, when Charlotte answered the phone later in the episode. But, it was nice. I was thinking they would just do a time jump and they would be back already. So I am glad we got to see a little bit of them here. And, of course, we got to see Charlotte. And I really like the scene where Charlotte tells Nathan, "You're as good of a man as my son ever was," which Nathan really needed to hear that, considering he's always compared himself to Jack. So it was really rewarding, I think, for him to get that acknowledgement. So I really like that. And it's great seeing Charlotte back. She's grown so much. I mean, she still has that bit of wit to her, but she's definitely matured over, like, really, really well. So I know she's in 3 episodes, so what will probably happen is that she'll come for like a 2-episode visit later in the season, I assume. I don't see her being in the next 2 episodes because we have this whole fire storyline. I don't think she would really fit in to that. So I think she'll come in for 2 episodes later on, which fits perfectly, seeing her in the premiere and then having something to look forward to later on. So I think they kind of wrote that in perfectly. But she also mocks him on his mustache, which, I mean, respectable. He needed to hear that. The mustache was terrible, but I am glad that it got shaved off. But she also says, "Don't mess this up." So I'm hoping we get a proposal sooner rather than later. I don't want to wait until the finale, although I have a bad feeling we'll have to wait till then. But I'm going to talk about that later, I'm going to talk about what I kind of think is going to happen there. So, yeah, they return to Hope Valley. Basically, there's this railroad strike, which means the insulin can't be delivered on the railroad, so they have to basically stay in Cape Fullerton. But they do come home for the opening of the national park, and Oliver has grown a mustache too, which Allie kind of doesn't love, but she still clearly likes him. And the Allie and Oliver relationship was really cute in this episode, really cute. I'm really hoping they get together, and considering Allie is staying, I'm sure they will. I'm sure that's gonna happen. So Christopher is back, Henry's son, which was a nice surprise for sure. I'm curious what they're gonna do with him, because they didn't mention Rachel at all. So I don't know, are they married, or are they, like, I don't know what's happening there. I hope we'll get like a mention soon. I'm sure we won't see Rachel. I'm curious what they're gonna do with Christopher. Like, how long is he gonna be around? Because it's like, I mean, it's cool seeing him back and seeing where he's at now, and seeing Henry be happy with talking to his son. It just kind of felt weird for him just to like show up randomly in the premiere. I mean, cool and all, but I'm not really sure where they're going with this plot line. But I'm hoping it's good for Henry's character, because he didn't have much to do last season. He had the whole hazelnut farm storyline, and that was kind of boring to me. So, I mean, it was great to see him do some non-shady business work, but I'm hopeful that they'll give him a good storyline this season, which, bringing his son back, I think they'll have some good stuff there. So McGinty's back, and they did wrap up this plot line pretty quickly, and I felt they kind of rushed it, the ending of it. So I mean, I'm going to assume he's the one behind the fire at the end. I feel like that makes the most sense. I mean, they could throw in another plot twist and we think it's him when it's really not, just like in season 11 when we thought it was Montague who shot Lucas, but it wasn't, which they made that pretty obvious that it wasn't him because of how much they kept saying, he shot him. Well, we knew it wasn't going to be him because they kept saying it. It's a classic misdirect. It's too obvious. So it could be the same thing, that we think McGinty started the fire, but he did not. So I don't know. I'm surprised he's still around, because I really thought they were moving on from that plot line. But, I mean, they'll do something. I mean, it's possible it's not him and they'll think it's him. And, I mean, clearly he's going to be a suspect right away because he's lingering around and, like, causing suspicion. So that's probably why they had him. So we would think he's the one who started the fire, but I don't know. That just seems a bit too obvious, and they always try to go the other route. But so Lucas is back, and he gets a speeding ticket from Nathan. And this was a really funny. I like how far their relationship has come, and how Lucas just really wanted to go talk to Edie, but Nathan was like, "Nope, here's your ticket." And Nathan's like, I can let you off the hook. And Lucas is like, no man's above the law. And Edie's like, oh gosh. That it was a really funny exchange for sure. And the Lucas and Edie scenes were cute. I like them together a lot. More so than him and Elizabeth, because Edie actually challenges him. And I think, and I mean, I didn't hate Lucas and Elizabeth together. They had chemistry and some good moments, but Edie works so much better with him. And where with Elizabeth, Lucas really became a different person. I think with Edie, Lucas can stay true to his roots and his ambition without having to sacrifice anything. So I'm looking forward to seeing how their relationship develops for sure. So, what else? So Elizabeth asks Minnie to take over her classroom for the start of the year, which I loved, because I like Minnie a lot. She's a great character. I like how she seems perfect on paper, but she's also insecure too, because she's like a preacher's wife, and she said before how she doesn't love having to give everyone advice. And she kind of feels like that's her role as his wife, to be like the perfect listener, reasonable, all of that. So I definitely like her character a lot. Now, of course, she's not going to be filling in now that Elizabeth's back, which is kind of disappointing, because I would have liked to see an episode of Minnie substituting in that role. I think that would have been cool, and maybe Elizabeth will let her do something, because if not, then that was just kind of a waste of a plot line. We spent a whole episode of Minnie debating whether she wanted to fill in or not, only for her to decide she didn't want to do, or only for her to not be able to do it, because Elizabeth is staying. I hope they give Minnie some sort of small teaching role, or I mean, it would be kind of cool if she co-taught with Elizabeth, but I would more prefer for Minnie to have her own thing, which she has the cafe, but I I'll talk in a minute about how I kind of wish they didn't wrap up this whole are they staying or are they going in one episode. I feel like they could have fleshed that out a little bit longer. But I would say in this episode, Allie, or I mean, really the past few seasons, Allie has had a great role, and the actress does a great job at playing her. And you saw that through the essay she wrote for the National Park Guidebook, which was really beautiful, and tying, back on her history and how much she's grown, because she's grown a lot. And then you have her, flirtation with Oliver, which is really cute. And yeah, so I think Allie is really thriving right now, and I'm really curious what they're going to do with her, and how much they really developed her and Elizabeth's relationship, and her and Nathan, and her and little Jack. I think she's fit into the mold so well, and she finally has what she always wanted. And yeah, so I really do like that for her, and of course I love her and Oliver. So I like that little scene where Nathan goes to Rosemary and says, I don't know what to do about Elizabeth. She says I should go, but I feel like I shouldn't. He's like, Rosemary says, maybe we need to be Elizabeth, find a way, even when it seems like there's not, which leads him to call up Charlotte. And I don't know if what was his name? Mr. Rivington, I think. Was that supposed to be Charlotte's partner, or just a neighbor nearby? I don't know who it was supposed to be. But he has a nephew who is a pilot, which basically he's able to deliver the insulin via airplane. So I mean, it worked pretty well. It almost teetered on the line of being a Lucas type gesture, but it worked well. I mean, maybe I didn't feel like it was totally true to Nathan's character per se. But it was still a sweet gesture of how hard he wanted Elizabeth to be able to stay here and for them to not be separated. It came out of a genuine place and not a showy place. So I think it was different, but for my first time watching it, I felt like it was a little something Lucas would do, but it makes sense for sure. So yeah, they can stay. The insulin's delivered. It's a happy ending, and They kind of had to do it, right? They couldn't have Elizabeth, they couldn't have them away for another couple of episodes because they're so essential to the plot line here. You have Allie and Oliver's relationship developing. If Allie wasn't there, they would have to put that on hold, and it just wouldn't really work out. I think they could have had Elizabeth and little Jack in Kate Fullerton for a little bit longer to give Minnie an episode with the kids, but we'll see what they do. I'm not totally surprised that they wrote it this way. I think it just worked out kind of magically and perfectly. That's kind of how When Calls the Heart works. But considering the episode ended with a fire, I'm like, okay, I can't be too upset because it did end with like something bad happening with some like trouble brewing. So I mean, it wasn't like a happy ending to the episode, but they probably were like, okay, we need to end this will they stay or not plot on a happy note so that we can jump into the fire as a cliffhanger. It makes sense why they had to wrap it up in that case for the cliffhanger. But yeah, so it ended with the fire. And next episode, it looks like we're getting a classic Hope Valley working together to solve a crisis, which they've done so many times, but they usually work pretty well. It looks like we're going to be seeing Lucas and Edie have to get the cattle out of the fire, which I think that'll be like a good what they do there. Of course, Oliver's saving Allie and taking her back to town. Lots of good potential there. Again, I think we're supposed to think that McGinty's behind it, but they might throw in a wrench where it's actually not him and then we just think it's him. That's kind of what I think is going to happen there. But overall, a really strong episode. Every character kind of got their moment. Faith had a good role too. Lily's alive, which Lily was in like one episode last season or something. We never saw her again. I assume that's because the actress who plays Faith was pregnant, so Lily therefore it didn't make sense for her to be around because Faith wasn't around. That's kind of my guess, but I'm hoping we get more of that this season. And her and little Jack's friendship is so cute. They're like the cutest kids. And Cece, my niece Cece is 4, and that age is just so cute. Little Jack's older, so I assume Lily's older than 4, but that age is so cute though. They're so innocent and joyful, and they have their moments, but they're just so sweet that age. So it's definitely really cute. Definitely the most curious what they're going to do with Henry's storyline with his son, what direction that will go in. And then, of course, I'm looking forward to the Lucas and Edie plotline. What else? What they're going to do with Mike and May. Like, are they going to have a pregnancy storyline? They could. There's a lot going on. So it's hard to say how they would fit that in, but I think they could very well go in that route. What else? Of course, the Allie and Oliver relationship, the Elizabeth and Nathan relationship, which I'm going to talk about in a second, what I think is going to happen there with the proposal. Yeah. And then whatever they're going to do with the Canfields. I kind of hope they have Minnie in the schoolhouse somehow. Because, again, if this whole episode they had her contemplating, do I want to do that or not, only to have her not be able to do it is kind of stupid. So we'll see. I think the Canfields are great characters. I would like to see them have more development for sure. So the proposal. I think we'll get the proposal in the latter half of the season. I don't know if it'll be the finale. I think there's a 50% chance it will be the finale, and a 50% chance it'll be before the finale. I don't see them having a traditional wedding. I don't see that for Nathan's character at all. I think it will most likely be not a full elopement. I think they'll still have either Bill or Joseph officiate, and I can honestly see Bill doing it just because Nathan and Bill are so close. Yeah, so. And then they'll probably have like a few guests. Now, I'm thinking that because they're able to get Lori Loughlin back for 14, I think they'll probably wait to do the wedding until season 14, unless maybe they already wrote it into this season. But because they reached, I think, the 150th episode mark in season 14, they'll likely do the wedding then and have Abigail back for it, is my guess. they'll do something like that. But either way, we are 100% getting a proposal this season. There's no way they're going to drag it out even longer. I thought for sure they would get engaged last season, and they didn't. So no way they're not getting engaged this season for sure. But yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to this season. A lot of potential. One thing I forgot to bring up, I'm looking forward to the Playhouse storyline for Rosemary a lot. And I'm hoping for more family moments between her, Lee, and Goldie. Goldie looks old enough that she probably should be speaking, so I'm surprised that we haven't heard her speak. I don't remember, so I hope this season we'll get to see her talking, and because that's a huge moment for them. So I'm hoping for, more of the cultures for sure, because we get a lot of Elizabeth, Nathan, Allie, and little Jack stuff, but I would like more Rosemary, Lee, and Goldie stuff. You can have Rosemary doing her theater and journalism and stuff, and Lee as mayor, but I would still like to see those intimate, personal family moments at home, because we wanted to see that for them for so long, so I'm hoping we get those. So comment down below, what did you think of the premiere? What are you looking forward to this season? Who do you think started the fire? I really want to just belt into that song right now, but I'm refraining from that. What do you think of Lucas and Edie and Allie and Oliver? And yeah, I will see you guys next week for episode 2. Thanks everyone for listening, and bye everyone.